Heathsby tore off down the street in a whirlwind of rage, swiping through a crowd of farm workers hiking up the hill towards the inn, barging past an ancient rag and bone man who almost fell into the gutter in a clang of pots and pans. By the time he had reached the turnpike, he was out of breath and felt as if he had been swept down a river and was washed up on the rocks. Exhausted, angry, and in despair, he flopped to his knees, wringing his hands and raising a desperate face towards the heavens. "Please, please, God," he wailed, tears welling in his eyes. "Help me, help them, help us all. Somebody, somewhere, do something to arrest this disaster. Dear God, why are you letting us do this? Why are you letting us destroy ourselves?" When Heathsby opened his eyes, he realised he had dropped to his knees and had found himself in the churchyard. He shuddered, remembering his recent experiences in this supposedly holy place. But then his eye caught the benevolent expression of a carved figure of the Virgin Mary, smiling down on him from midway up the steeple. A balm washed over him, as if he could feel the holy hands enwrapping him in tender care and protection. Slowly, joy crept through him. Salvation would be found, he knew. Somehow or another, these dark days would give way to a time of light and hope. Just then, Heathsby heard the happy voices of children lolling about near the porch, and marched gladly over to them, brimming with newfound geniality. "Hullo, boys and girls," he cheered, clapping his hands. He had always enjoyed the company of children, and found himself lapsing naturally into the role of jovial grandfather in their presence. "How are we all doing, eh? Isn't it a lovely day? Just the sort of day for some nice cakes, eh? Some nice cakes or sweets from shop." Miraculously, he had forgotten his financial troubles, and pulled out some coins from his pockets, which he began dispensing. "Me, Mr. Heathsby, me!" they cried, excitedly tugging at his tunic. "Give some to me!" Laughing amid the good-humoured jostle, Heathsby shook his head and regarded his young friends through the eyes of an avuncular protector. Hey, go steady, take it easy. Here you go, little girl." And he handed the largest coin to a sickening-looking child, smaller and weaker than the others, who had been pushed to the back of the swarm, but whom he now cradled in his arm and upheld like a May Queen, full of fatherly affection. "That's it, you can all have some cakes on me. We all enjoy cakes, don't we? We all love scoffing cakes." The whole scene was a portrait of love and jollity. "I wonder what else you could buy with your brass. Let's have a think. What do you reckon?" "A spinning top," one boy proposed. "A football," shot another. Aye, very good ideas. Or you could buy something for your mums and dads, couldn't you? It's always nice to buy someone a present, and I bet your parents would be really chuffed with something from the shop. What do you think? A nice flower, or a new scarf, or some gin?" piped up a podgy boy in an ill-fitting tunic, whose mouth was smeared in licorice. Heathsby's expression darkened. "What's that you say? Gingerbread, is it? You want gingerbread?" "Gin!" the child roared, echoed by several of his playmates. "Our dad knocks it back all the time. He says it's great, his gin, does our dad." "Now look," and Heathsby slowly lowered the girl in his arms, crouching to face his audience with a soft smile, but wise, knowing eyes. "I'm going to tell you something, boys and girls. You need to listen carefully, because it's important, is this. Now, gin, a drink of any kind, alcohol, is sinful. If you drink it, it'll do you harm. It doesn't seem to do our dad any harm. He likes it." In the corner of his eye, Heathsby saw the father stumbling from the inn and chuckling away in a drunken daydream. "Yes," pressed Heathsby, "it's very bad for you, his drinking. Our dad done say it's bad for you." "I'll give you a clip round the ear if you don't shut up, sunshine," he wished to retort, but instead forced a tired smile and insisted, "It does you a lot of harm, does drink." "Our dad says it does you good," the child persisted, and Heathsby shot him a warning glare, raising his voice. "Well, I'm telling you, it does you harm. Lots of harm. There's blokes out there who can hardly stand up any more for drink. Others who have had terrible accidents and can no longer use their arms or legs. Some who have got into fights and ended up being killed because of drink, or killing others. And then it's trouble for them, isn't it? They get all before the courts." He was making up these stories on the spot now, but convinced himself that he was justified, since it was perfectly possible that such fates may indeed befall those who sold their soul to the devil drink. That's right, they're hanging from the scaffold right now, at this very moment, begging for mercy and drooling down the fronts, shrivelled up in agony, screaming out. Some of the children began to look visibly afraid, and to cry, while others were giddy with excitement at the gruesome news. The storyteller was oblivious, though, and his eyes bored through them like those of an actor ensconced in his role. "That's right," he continued, snarling. "Sinful, grubby drunks, good-for-nothings, wastes of space, pleading for lenience, feeling the noose tightening around their miserable necks as they hang like slaughtered chickens from the butcher's hook. All because of the evil gin. May Satan take those nefarious ne'er-do-wells. May there be no mercy in burning pits of hell. Heathsby, I say, Mr. Heathsby, what in the name of God?" A breathless Reverend Snurk came stamping down the path, gathering up the sobbing children like a shepherd tending to a frighted flock. "Ah, Reverend, I've just been trying to explain to these children why they ought. I know damn well what you've been saying. I heard you. Now I'm warning you, Heathsby. A good-humoured debate, even a robust debate between fellow adults is one thing, but I simply will not have you corrupting the minds of innocent children with these poisonous prejudices." Snurk turned to comfort a child still uneasy and clinging to his cassock, and bade the little ones to head inside the church. Facing Heathsby once again, the cleric could barely conceal his fury. "Mr. Heathsby, this is outrageous, trying to twist impressionable young minds, but I'm warning them against the evils of a virtuous pastime practised by the vast majority of people without ill effect. You must be joking. It's ruining the—" "This is no joke, Heathsby, I can assure you of that. Now I must warn you to desist from your intolerant proclamations. You may disapprove of the consumption of alcohol, but you have no right to impose that disapproval upon others, and to force-feed the young with a diet of dogmatism, born of— But, Reverend, you said yourself that the gin craze is clearly here to stay." He removed his spectacles and wiped them down, taking a breath, before fixing the other man in a schoolmasterly frown. "Now, Mr. Heathsby, the channels of fashions must pursue their own courses, independent of our personal opinions. There is nothing to be done. In these matters, we are powerless to intercede. We must simply accept— I can't believe I'm hearing this. Consider the lilies of the field," snapped Snurk, "and try to be more like them." He tapped his head manically. "Think your thoughts up here, but keep them to yourself. But they were— Oh, Father, what's world coming to when even a vicar sticks up for drunken hooligans, desecrating consecrated ground?" A small crowd, attracted by the commotion between minister and miller, had begun nervously approaching. Flustered, Snurk tugged at the miller's sleeve and tried to usher him towards the porch. Yes, Mr. Heathsby, I'm sure that's all very interesting," he stammered, with a false and weary smile. But why don't we go and discuss it indoors? I'm telling you, this drinking is getting out of hand." "Ha, yes, quite," the vicar hurriedly continued. trying to pass the interaction off as a joke. "Now let's go inside." "But Vicar, but nothing! Now just let's get inside!" hissed Snurk, the mask momentarily slipping. Heathsby felt a dig in his back as he jutted into the dark, cool porch, and before he knew it, the irked Snurk was pushing and prodding him inside the church. "Please conclude your protestations," the vicar spoke in almost a whisper, which nonetheless echoed round the aisles. "Mr. Heathsby, we are all entitled to our opinions, but the time has come for you to rein it in. Put it in right. A truce to your relentless remonstrations, Heathsby. I demand the immediate discontinuation of these belligerent gripes." He waited for a moment, as if expecting a further outburst, but when the coast was clear, continued in a quieter voice. "Now, if it keeps you out of trouble, why don't you stick around and make yourself useful? We've a christening taking place this morning, and I'm a man down. I'm afraid young Sprue was supposed to be helping get set up, but he's taken ill after last night's festivities," he hurriedly corrected himself, "after picking up some nasty bug." "You mean he's got hangover?" "It's not for us to judge, Heathsby. Now, I thought we'd agreed for you to keep a little. So you want me to slog my guts out because that waste has gone and got himself wasted, and he's too lazy to drag himself out of bed. Where is he? I'll get him. I'll show the idle bugger the meaning of a good day's graft. Peace, Heathsby. You'll do no such thing. Now, if you do not wish me to eject you from this church and bar you from its confines with immediate effect, communicating my reasons to the higher authorities, I strongly suggest that you adhere to my commands." There was a dead certainty in his voice, which stopped Heathsby in his tracks. The vicar's mention of authorities was probably, he knew, a reference to the village landowners, a threat which in itself sent a shiver down the miller's spine. But as he spoke, the righteous reverend's face was darkened by the shadow cast by a carving of the Virgin Mary, while above him sundry angels looked down on the scene with wrathful expressions. Just in eyeshot, a benevolent Christ was pictured on an altar cloth, dispensing alms to the impoverished. But the power in his sharp blue eyes pierced Heathsby like a dagger. Could this be what was meant by the higher powers? Did the vicar mean to say that he had some direct channels of communication with the heavenly, a means of bad-mouthing Heathsby to the ear of God Almighty? The miller shuddered and adopted a servile, more contrite tone. Yes, he muttered. "All right, well, whatever you say, sir, whatever you say." He stared at the cold stone floor and stood there like a pupil awaiting punishment. "Good," pronounced Snurk resolutely. "Now we have got that established, I propose we waste no more time on this silly talk of drink and crack on with the morning's work. The candlesticks need bringing out, and I could do with some flowers fetching for the altar. And the pews, they'll need a good scrubbing, so make sure you put some elbow grease into it, Heathsby. Go on, man, what are you waiting for? We've less than an hour before the service starts, and I shall want to see this place looking spick and span, Heathsby. Spick and span. So let's look to it."